Hello everyone, welcome back to another story. Before we begin, make sure you like and sub so you never miss a part. Let's get on to the story. Prologue. In the beginning, there was a massacre. A nine-tailed demon fox, Kyubi, has attacked Konoha, the hidden leaf village. The tails were creating massive hurricanes with each swing. Monstrous earthquakes each step. And shockwaves each roar. But even such a powerful beast could not drive the storm cloud away. The beast looked even more terrifying in the heavy rain, which ironically seemed beautiful in whatever moonlight broke through the clouds, disturbed only by fire and lightning. The shinobi of the leaf were doing everything they could to stop the creature, but no matter what they tried, all was futile. It was not the size of the beast that was the problem, nor was its power. No. It was rather the fact it was nothing more than chakra that has taken form and substance. And therefore, it was immortal. But the Konohanin could not just stand there and watch as the beast goes ravaging their village. Hold your positions and wait for the fourth Hokage to arrive. One shinobi screamed. There were some who had hoped that the man known as the fourth Hokage will be able to defeat the demon. The Kyubi came closer. The youngest of the ninjas were about to run away. A giant paw with razor-sharp claws was coming down on them. But the fox was stopped. A powerful stream of water hit the nine tails, forcing it to move backwards. The Konohanin who survived moved back, trying to clear the battleground. The fourth Hokage arrived standing on top of the summoned toad's head. The Hokage began to make hand seals. Soon the fourth along with his summon and Kyubi clashed in a mortal combat. The battle lasted for hours. The storm merely got stronger and stronger. Every second there was a lightning and a thunder, which only made the fire stronger, despite a stronger downpour. To those who watched the battle, it seemed as if the end of the world has come. Barely any forest left. It was hell on earth. Finally, the fourth Hokage decided to use the only thing he knew that could stop the fox. He threw several kunais around the demon, and to the beast's surprise it was trapped in some strange kind of chains. It tried to move. But couldn't. The champion of the hidden leaf formed the ram seal and started to molt chakra. His summon was extremely exhausted, but stood ready to assist if necessary. The fourth, however, knew the truth. This was going to be his final jutsu. But the fox had to be stopped. No matter the cost. But the Kage has underestimated the power of the bijou. The trap began to break. Damn it. The fourth hasn't gathered enough chakra yet. The toad shot a water bullet in hope to buy some time for his friend. But it failed. Its attack hit and disappeared like it was nothing. Summon was too weak. The demon was close. Then it happened. An enormous lightning, from what the witness could tell, hit the ground between the bijou and a giant toad. A blinding light quickly disappeared. And there was something the fourth Hokage, the only person to see this, has not been expecting. The Kyubi was being held by, what it seemed like, a giant figure made of pure storm clouds. It was covered with a cloak with thunders on it. 8 lightning bolts were rotating clockwise just behind its back. Strapped to the figure's waist was a massive sword. Or maybe it was a club. The fourth could not tell. The giant turned around to look at the human, still not letting go of the demon. What the Konoha's champion saw freaked him out. The eyes. The whites were pitch black. The iris was some strange shade of purple, and the pupil, or rather pupils, were shaped like 2, vertically positioned, yellow thunders facing one another surrounded by 8 yellow points. The Kage knew immediately who he was facing. The thunder god, Raijin. For only he possessed the Eye of Storm. The human quickly regained his focus. He knew that even though the god himself arrived to aid Konoha, even he had his limits. The fox roared. Raijin, however, stood still. He would not loosen his grab. The demon roared again. The thunder god pushed the bijou back with all his might and summoned 6 pillars of pure lightning to restrain the beast. The Kyubi, however, was not foolish. It swung its tails and threw the attack aside. It charged at the god of thunders. Once within its reach, the bijou sank its fangs in the arm of its opponent. The two were struggling. Soon, the 4th Hokage ready. All was in place. He wanted to call to Raijin to stand back, but he looked into the god's eye. He understood that it wasn't an option. He would make a sacrifice of himself if it meant to save the human world. The Kage had no option but to follow the wish. People of Konoha, who were far away from the fight, in the most secure place of their entire village, were terrified. They kept hear the rumbles, the roars, the screams. The old people were trembling. The children crying, and the rest were desperate. Even the shinobi who were guarding the people had fear in their eyes. Everyone was certain they were going to die. They didn't want a thing bad of their Hokage. But hope had a mortal facing something that powerful. Sure, the 4th Hokage had the reputation of the most powerful ninja to ever exist in the world of shinobi. After all, he was the one who single-handedly wiped out an entire army during the freshly ended Third Great Shinobi War. But still, he was a mortal human. Fighting a demon. No. Fighting the strongest of the 9-tailed beasts. There was no hope. And then, a white light illuminated the sky. The storm ceased and began to clear from the skies as the strange light disappeared with a loud roar of the final thunder. Now the light of dawn shines upon the landscape. Most of the forest burned, they would be green again soon. The Kyubi was nowhere to be seen. There was only the body of the 4th laying on the ground. Silence fell upon the terrain. Silence disturbed only by a cry. A cry of a baby. Chapter 1. Beginning of a legend. Sunny morning was in Konoha practically the same as anywhere else. Or so people would like it to be so. Normally, the people would slowly wake up with a smile on their faces. Wash up. Eat breakfast. Get dressed. Go outside to the streets. Say their good mornings. Get to work, school, and ninja academy or visit others. Yep. That's how mornings should be like. Not in Konoha, however. It wasn't even past 10 in the morning and already there were ninja running through the village. They were chasing someone, judging their calls, threats, and promises to that someone pay after he or she was caught. Everyone knew who it had to be, who was chased. A small boy, no older than 12 or 13, with spiky blonde hair and strange whisker-like birthmarks on his cheeks. The kid was running with a bucket full of paint, laughing like a madman. The villagers, of course, noticed what the child was carrying and couldn't help but wonder, what the bloody hell did that brat do this time? The answer soon came to them, when they all looked at the Hokage monument. All the heads had a geisha-style makeup on their faces, while their hairs were painted pink or blue. The heads of the 1st and 3rd Hokages, however, additional writing on them, saying, "I'm an old monkey's uncle." Some of the villagers' sweat dropped at the lame text. "Get back here, Naruto," one ninja yelled, while jumping off the roof, hoping to catch the kid. He was close. Just a second. An inch. And that preteen troublemaker will be caught. That, however, never happened. The boy dodged his grab while making a turn into an alley. "Gimme a break, you guys." "Huh." Naruto laughed while running and making another turn. His pursuers came out on the street and... "What the? Where's that kid?" They were looking around for a short, blonde kid wearing a chainmail under a red, unzipped midriff with zippers and blue baggy pants, rolled just above the ankles, traditional blue ninja sandals and an orange jumpsuit jacket tied around his waist. But he was nowhere to be found. That's lame. Home in the world could they lose someone who stands out like a white paper sheet on a black table? It's unheard of. Even two ANBU ninja, who just wanted to make sure the kid wouldn't be killed, couldn't find him. A minute later, they all scattered. None has even noticed a blank falling down, revealing the brat they were looking for. He just adjusted his goggles, then his armband on his right arm with kanji for thunder, which a piece of clothing had connected to it, covering the boy's arm just to half his forearm. He was proud of himself. "Better luck next time, suckers," he said when suddenly he felt someone's hand on his shoulder. Naruto, the owner of the hand, yelled out. The kid nervously turned his head to face that person. "Oh, hey, Iruka-sensei," Naruto said, smiling. "What are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" "What are you doing here?" "You're missing class," Iruka answered, performing his loud mouth no jutsu, which actually increased his head, making his voice blow strong wind. Later, in the academy. Iruka dragged the troublemaker to the academy. That kid has been causing him so much stress lately. He even wondered how come he still hasn't lost any of his hair yet, which he usually tied into a ponytail. The said Chunin, for that was Iruka's rank, looked at Naruto, who was sitting, tied up, on the floor in front of Iruka's desk. He was trying to intimidate the young blonde with his appearance. After all, he was wearing a standard shinobi uniform, dark blue ninja long sleeve shirt, same colored pants, a green vest, a kunai pouch strapped to his waist from behind and a forehead protector on its rightful place. He even expected his scar, which was running from one cheek to another across his nose, to build the mood. But he failed miserably. Naruto was just sitting there as if his sensei wasn't even there in the first place. Iruka tried to lecture him again. Still nothing. That put a thick vein, no, wait. 3 super thick veins on his head. That's it. Alright everyone, Iruka said, facing the rest of the class. Everyone in line. Now. We're going to practice transformation jutsu. What? Everyone screamed. How could their teacher punish them all like that for what Naruto did? It wasn't fair. Few minutes have passed and half the class have performed the jutsu. All perfectly. It was now Naruto's turn. You know, we wouldn't have to go through this if it wasn't for you, a girl with bright blonde hair complained at Naruto. Like I care, he answered her with a smile and not facing her. The blonde stepped forward with determination. Somewhere at the end of the line, a certain black-haired girl with pupil-less white eyes was looking at him. Poking her index fingers, with a small smile and a blush, she was mentally wishing him luck. Naruto set his hands and formed a ram seal. Immediately, chakra began to focus all around him. 5 seconds later there was a big puff of smoke that covered him. When it cleared, there stood a teenage, busty, blonde girl. She was nude. And gesturing Iruka a kiss. To that view, of course, the Chunin's perverted side kicked in. First, he was completely white head to toe. Second, his jaw dropped. Third, eyes wide open. Final, he got a nosebleed of such power, he flew back. A second later, the girl turned back into Naruto in a puff of smoke. The kid was laughing hysterically. Haha. Gotcha. How do you like my sexy jutsu? You moron. Iruka yelled at Naruto while performing his loud mouth jutsu, don't ever perform such stupid jutsus. Later that day. The Hokage Monument. Naruto hanging on the robes tied to his waist, cleaning the sculptures under Iruka's watchful eyes. None of them was in a good mood. Remember, Naruto. You're not going anywhere until you clean all that graffiti off the monument, the older of the two said. Big deal. It's not like anyone's waiting for me back home. Naruto talked back. It may have sounded some tough guys talk back, but the boy actually didn't had anyone. He was an orphan. As long as could remember, he was always alone, without any family. And Irika knew it wasn't just that. He remembered well that his troublesome student, for as long as he cared, considered everyone to be against him. And he had reasons for it. Everyone in Konoha hated the boy. They would glare at him. Some would ignore him or try to harm him. There were even those throughout the years, who nearly killed him even. Those haven't dared to touch Naruto, due to the law the third Hokage, the current village leader, has made, still refuse to provide him with normal treatment, product prize, medical attention, adoption, anything. The boy was treated like a plaque. Irika was thinking for a sec. It wasn't that he hated the youngster. So there was no need to be that harsh on him. Right? Listen, Naruto, the blonde murmured while turning his sea blue eyes to his sensei. When you're done with this social task, how about we go dig ourselves some ramen? My treat. Irika said smiling. He knew exactly how to motivate the kid, as his spirits rose up and he started to clean the mess at a higher rate. His enthusiastic yells could be heard all over the fire country. Later it was nightfall when Naruto had finally finished cleaning the monument and both he and his sensei went down into the village to get their ramen. Naruto was at his next bowl, eating like there was no tomorrow. Irika could only wonder where all that food was going. Naruto, he asked. Why are you doing all this? What do you mean, sensei? The blonde kid asked. I mean the pranks you do. Especially the one you performed on the Hokage monument. You do know who the Hokage is, right? Yeah, so why? Because I intend to surpass them. All of them, including the fourth. I intend to become the greatest ninja there ever existed. Maybe even become Hokage myself. And then people will have to start looking at me like someone and not like something. I'm going to prove to them that I'm not some trash but the greatest shinobi. Believe it. Naruto answered with his trademark wide smile on his face. Irika was stunned by the boy's declaration. He could see in his young student's eyes determination. No, he could see something more. Soon a small smile appeared on Irika's face. He was suddenly proud of Naruto. The kid may be a troublemaking knucklehead, but he had a big dream he wasn't going to quit. That sounds great, Naruto. But you know that if you want it to become reality, you do have to work hard, the older of the two said, to which he was given a simple reply. I know. That's exactly what I am doing. Then how come you're doing such a miserable job so far? Naruto just gave a sheepish smile to that question while scratching the back of his head. Before the Chunin could get the answer, however, he was given a bill from the stand owner for all the ramen. Irika took the bill, examined it. What the? His jaw dropped. He turned to face his student, but the blonde was long since gone. Uzumaki Naruto. I'll get you for this. I swear. He yelled out. Few minutes later. With Naruto. Naruto was running through the streets, hoping that his teacher wasn't following him. Fortunately he wasn't. The blonde slowed down when he reached the staircase to his block and started to climb up. Then, at the top floor, and walked to the very last door. He opened the door, stepped through and shut them. He felt safe, for merely 3 seconds. After that he got a strange feeling that someone else was inside his apartment. He was trying to sense where the intruder was hiding. When he came into the living room, he felt some force tackle him and forcing him to lay down. Naruto tried to open his eyes, but found that something was on his face. It felt warm, soft and... Oh no, he thought. Now he knew what was going on. This feeling of being crushed and hugged into something. It was that person. Hey, Naru-chan. Nice to see ya, a girl voice said. She rose a bit from Naruto, so he could make an eye contact with her. The girl, about a year older than him, had purple hair, chocolate brown eyes with no pupils, purple hair tied in a spiky ponytail. A second later, she stood up, helping the blonde get on his feet. What annoyed him was that she just kept teasing Naruto about their height difference. After all, he was only 146 centimeters tall, while she was, surprisingly, 155 centimeters tall. Right now, she was wearing a black t-shirt, an orange/brown skirt and a necklace with a serpent thong. All which simply her well-developed and seductive figure more attractive. "What are you doing here, Anko-chan? I thought you're on a mission," Uzumaki asked her. She simply smirked and answered him. "Well, I was. But our team managed to pull it off sooner than we thought. Besides," she at him. Before Naruto could notice, he was already laying on the ground face to the ground with her sitting on him. Anko was holding one of Naruto's arms in a firm grab, while pointing a kunai to his cheek. "There's no way I would have missed your graduation day tomorrow, shorty. So I came here to help you better prepare," she said, licking her lips. Naruto saw that in a corner of his eyes and already regretted coming home. Next morning. Ninja Academy. All the students were present in the class. They were all wondering about the graduation today. All felt confident. "Okay, everyone," Irika announced. "As you all remember, we have graduation test today. So, you all have to perform a clone jutsu." As their teacher announced that, everybody was mentally celebrating. Well, all but one certain blonde. "No. Anything but that jutsu. It's my worst." Naruto was shivering. Some time later, most of the class was done. All of those people passed. It was now Naruto's turn. He stood in the middle of the room. The only ones there beside him were Irika and another Chunin, who had silver/white hair. Both were sitting in front of Naruto, waiting for him to get started, so they could judge his performance. "Alright, Naruto. Whenever you're ready," Irika said. The boy nodded and took his stand, forming a ram seal. He started molting his chakra and after a few seconds, puff. There was smoke. Once it died, there stood Naruto, and his two clones. Well, kind of. Both his clone were dangerously pale and sickly looking. Irika's eyebrow twitched. "You fail." Naruto couldn't believe this, or rather didn't want to accept this. He failed for the third time in a row. He could feel himself falling into the abyss. How was he going to become a great ninja? "Ah, come on, Irika. I think we could pass him," Irika's partner said with a warm smile on his face. It wasn't that bad. After hearing that, boys' hope returned. "But no. We can't do that, Mizuki. Making an exception won't look good when compared to the others' performance," Irika stated. "I'm sorry, Naruto. Better luck next time." Naruto, of course, frowned at that. He looked like he wanted to cry. Night time. Hokage's tower. The whole place was dark. There was just one shadow moving across the empty corridors of the building. It was moving fast and swiftly. Soon, it reached a certain door. It opened them, entered the room and started to search for something. Everything was going smoothly, when the lights turned on. "What are you doing here, Naruto-kun?" an old voice asked. Naruto turned around, finding an old, wrinkled man with a goatee, who was dressed in a white and red robe standing behind him. The prankster knew immediately it was the third Hokage himself facing him. He was trying to come up with a good lie, but instead he put his hands to form a hand seal which helps to mold chakra and yelled, "Sexy jutsu." The Hokage screamed like a pervert and fainted with blank eyes and a perverted smile, falling into a small puddle of blood under his head. Naruto quickly dispelled his jutsu and resumed his search. After a few seconds, he found what he was looking for. It was a big scroll. He picked it up, strapped it to his torso and jumped out the window, disappearing into the night. Elsewhere, Irika was lying in his bed wondering. Something was deeply disturbing him. Flashback: it was early evening when the graduation exams were over. Irika was watching the crowd. It was a crowd of parents congratulating their children. Everyone was happy. He then heard some people whispering how glad they were a certain blonde didn't pass, saying it would have been a big mistake. He took a look around and noticed his troublemaking student, then only one to fail, sitting on the swing under a tree, depressed and heartbroken, watching the people. Irika felt some guilt for the boy failure. Maybe he should go and try to cheer him up a bit. That's when the Hokage caught his attention. Irika-kun? Do you mind some personal talk? The aged village leader asked him. The Chunin hesitated for a moment. He wanted to have a talk to Naruto first, but he noticed Mizuki coming up to the boy. It was decided. Both Irika and the Hokage entered an empty classroom. It was hard for the Chunin to believe that this room could look so beautiful when empty and lighted by a setting sun. Irika-kun. The old man started with some seriousness in his voice. I think you're going a little too harsh on the young Naruto-kun. Please, try to understand him. But Lord Hokage. He's... Irika tried to speak, but was cut off by the Hokage when he rose his hand and continued. As you remember, 13 years ago, the Ninetales attacked Konoha. I know you lost your family on that day and that you were left all alone. But you at least had someone at the beginning of your journey through life. Naruto, however, never experienced parental love and was always faced with hatred. And that's because of the villagers' ignorance. They can't see that the boy. Flashback end. Irika was brought back from his thoughts when he heard a knock to the door. He rose up, came up to the door, opened them and faced a frightened Mizuki. Mizuki? What happened? It's Naruto, the silver-haired Chunin answered quickly. He stole the forbidden scroll of sealing. To that, Irika was shocked. We are to go look for him. Fine. I'll go look in the north part of the forest then and you go to the east. Irika said and jumped out of his apartment. Later. Somewhere in the forest. Naruto was sitting deep in the forest. Behind him stood an old, wrecked hut, on which he bended the scroll he's taken earlier. He wanted to take another look into it. But he was exhausted. But still, he was interested. He was murmuring something about having not much time left to master a good jutsu that learned from the scroll. He tried to pick himself up, when out of nowhere Irika appeared before him. Ha! Found ya, the Chunin said. Naruto just sheepishly chuckled, putting his wide grin on his face and scratching the back of his head. Hey, Irika-sensei. I found ya. Naruto replied cheerfully. Idiot. It was me who found you. Irika yelled at the blonde, performing his loud mouth jutsu. But he quickly regained his cool when he noticed that Naruto was shirtless, which allowed the Chunin to examine the troublemaker more carefully. The knucklehead blonde's body was well built for his age. Nearly muscular in fact. The most characteristic, however, was a thick stripe on Naruto's body. When Irika first saw it a few years back, on Naruto's first day in the academy more precisely, it was a simple ocean blue stripe, starting from the middle of his right chest, going up to his shoulder, over it and falling down, ending just an inch under the shoulder blade. The Chunin thought then that it was a tattoo. But now, it looked more like an arrow on the back, pointing down, and splitting into 5 thinner stripes just above the shoulder blade. One was going up his neck. Second held the original track and that one was the thickest. Additionally, it was now shaped like a lightning. The third, along with the fourth, running on his right arm, while the 5, the thinnest, was running just under it and ending just an inch on the chest, also shaped like a lightning. It had to be some kind of birthmark as well. There were some scratches on his body and a lot of sweat, which suggested that he was training himself to death. Irika scolded himself mentally when he understood. The blonde was training hard after all. Then he noticed Naruto was on his feet. "Hey, Irika-sensei," the kid said loudly with lots of enthusiasm in his voice, "I did it. I managed to learn merely one jutsu from the scroll, but still. Now you have to let me pass." As soon as Irika heard Naruto say it, something troubled him. Naruto? What are you talking about?" the Chunin asked confused. "I'm talking about the makeup test." "What makeup test? Who told you that?" Now Naruto was all confused as well. "Mizuki-sensei did. He said that if I manage to steal the scroll from the Hokage Tower and learn at least one jutsu from it, I'll pass. That's how you can still become a genin, right?" Suddenly a thought hit Irika's mind. Could it be that Mizuki took advantage of the boy? Why? The scared Chunin was about to tell something Naruto, when suddenly his instincts kicked in. He pushed the blonde away and got hit with several kunai knives and shurikens. He was pinned to a wall of a hut, bleeding. Naruto was both shocked as well as afraid. What was going on? Was he the target? Did he mess up so badly this time that he was to be killed on sight? His train of thoughts was suddenly interrupted by a familiar voice of Mizuki. "Naruto," he said loud, standing on a branch of a tree before the hut with two oversized shurikens strapped to his back, "hand me the scroll. Hurry. Then you'll pass the test." The blonde was about to do so, even if he was hesitating. And he had reasons for that. What is going on? Why Irika-sensei was acting as if this test was unheard of? Why did Mizuki have to hurt Irika? Something just doesn't fit. Naruto finally grabbed the scroll and lifted it. But before he could hand it to the silver-haired Chunin. "Naruto! Don't do it," the wounded Chunin shouted, pulling out some kunai knives out of his body. "Mizuki's lying to you. He's betrayed the village and is now trying to frame you." Mizuki looked at Irika and smirked. "Oh? I'm lying?" He turned to the kid, "You want to know who's really lying, Naruto?" The blonde's shocked expression said everything. "Do you want to know why everyone in this village hates you so badly?" "Mizuki! Don't! That's forbidden!" Irika yelled with sign of pain. There was special law created especially so no one would ever talk about it. The law of which only you haven't been told. Mizuki continued, his voice getting more and more villainous. "Mizuki! No! A law that forbids us from mentioning the truth about the Nine Tails. The truth it was not killed but sealed inside a newborn." "Shut up. You Naruto. You were that newborn. This means, you are the nine-tailed demon fox." Mizuki finished with a dark smile plastered on his face. Naruto however a different expression. He was shocked. Afraid. Heartbroken. Betrayed. Even more. It all made sense now. All the glares he was given, all the harsh treatment. It was all because of the fox. He was the demon, not a child. The blonde was so deep into his thoughts and sorrow, he didn't know what was happening in the real world. If he was, he would notice Mizuki preparing to throw one of his big shurikens at him. "And now, allow me to relief of the pain, you demon," the silver-haired Chunin said, throwing his weapon at Naruto. It was coming in fast. No time react. That spinning projectile would slice him for sure. At least he will give this village what its inhabitants wanted. The demon's death. Everyone will be happy. But before the shuriken could hit the boy, someone tackled him. Naruto was lying on the ground and could hear the sound of metal shredding through flesh. A second later he felt something warm and wet dripping on him. He looked up and found that Irika was kneeling over him, shielding him. He was bleeding and crying as well, but he was smiling to the boy. Why? Naruto asked. Iruka quickly answered him with a warm tone. Because, we're the same. I was no older than you when my parents died fighting the fox. I was left alone. No one gave a damn about it. And I hated it. So I became a class clown to draw attention of others. I know what it's like, Naruto. I know the pain of loneliness. But you don't have to be anymore. I'm with you. Naruto was looking at the wounded Chunin with a confused look. He didn't know if what Iruka said was true or was it just some trick to torture him before killing. A few more seconds later he crawled out from underneath him, grabbed the scroll and ran off into the woods. Naruto! Iruka screamed, panicking. Soon he heard a maniacal laughter of Mizuki, who now stood next to him. Did you? The look in his, Iruka, traitorous Chunin started, these are the eyes of the demon. You. The wounded ninja tried to speak, but was cut off. Don't worry, Iruka. I'll save you for later. For now, I have a certain fox to hunt down. Mizuki disappeared in a blur. Iruka knew that he must act fast if he was going to save his student. Elsewhere in the woods, Naruto was jumping cat-like from one tree to another, the scroll still strapped to his back. He was moving like crazy. If he stops now, someone will kill him, at least that's what he was thinking. He dared not to look elsewhere. Suddenly Iruka appeared next to him, keeping up the pace with him. Naruto, the Chunin said loudly, we lost Mizuki. Give me the scroll. Together we can handle high. He was cut off when the blonde tackled him. Both fell, Naruto next to a tree and Iruka a few feet away from him. They were both patting. The scarred Chunin rose up and glared at the fox kid. How did you know I'm not Iruka? He asked, turning into Mizuki, his real self, in a puff of smoke. Naruto only smiled and also puffed. When the smoke died out. Because I'm Iruka. He said proudly, putting down the scroll, which happened to be a log. The traitor was furious. He was fooled. But then, where was the real Naruto? None of the two Chunins knew that the young knucklehead was watching them from behind the tree not too far away from them. Why are you protecting that demon, Iruka? Mizuki asked him. Have you already forgotten what that demon has done to your parents? Don't you want to make that thing pay for making you an orphan? No. Iruka answered him, I don't blame Naruto for what happened. He's not like that. Don't fool yourself. You saw his eyes. The eyes of a demon. Now, he's going to run away with the scroll. And once he learns all of its secrets, he'll return to have his revenge on this village. That's what demons are. Mizuki shouted the last sentence out. Iruka was trying to catch his breath before he answered. You're right, Mizuki. Naruto, after hearing that, was shocked beyond belief. He felt whatever hope he had left leaving him. So Iruka was never there for him. He too hated him. The blonde was about to move, tried to run away, when he heard Iruka say the words that would fire his fires of hope back. That's what demons are, not Naruto. The blonde froze at the sound of that. Naruto may not be the most skillful of my students. He's the greatest troublemaking knucklehead I've ever taught. But I'm proud of him. He always works hard. That's what makes him special. That's why he's too different from a demon. He is Uzumaki Naruto of the Hidden Leaf Village. While hearing that, the boy was crying. So someone did acknowledge him. He was crying uncontrollably, yet he was happy. Mizuki however frowned at that. He was glaring at Iruka with pure anger. He took the last of his big shurikens into his hand and began to spin it. I was going to kill you later, the traitor said calmly, but his voice became sinister, but I guess I'll start with you after all. Mizuki was about to throw his weapon. Iruka was too injured to move properly. There is no way he could dodge the attack in time. That was it. The shuriken was sent flying. The silver-haired Chunin smirked. That was it for the wounded one. Iruka closed his eyes, ready for death to claim him. But the pain never came. The scared Chunin heard the swirling shuriken. Just tried and I'll pay you back tenfold, the blonde countered, making a cross seal with his middle and index fingers on both hands. Mizuki charged at him yelling. Bring it on, nine-tailed demon fox. Iruka was scared for the boy. He wanted to tell him to run, but what he was about to witness would surprise him mentally for the rest of his live. He heard Naruto say out loud something he did not expect. Shadow Clone Jutsu. There was a big puff of smoke that covered the entire area. Once it died, both Chunins saw that there were dozens, maybe hundreds of Narutos, who were amazed by the fact they were solid. The blonde has actually managed to master an extremely advanced jutsu, which even most jonins, the ninja of higher rank, had trouble with. The traitor was confused, he wasn't certain what was going on. What is this? Then Naruto's reached out their hands and a small lightning shot out from their hands, binding Mizuki and holding him immobile. Hey, what's up, Mizuki team? One Naruto asked, I thought you said you were going to come at me. Well, if you won't come, then we will. All Narutos jumped and the silver-haired traitor, who shouted in pure fear. The sound of beating could be heard. After a few minutes, Mizuki laid on the ground, beaten and unconscious. Naruto dispelled his clones and ran over to Iruka to see if his teacher was all right. That it was. I'm fine, Naruto. But, where did you learn that strange lightning jutsu you used to bind Mizuki? The Chunin asked, confusing the blonde. I don't know. I just felt it and it just happened. Was all he could say. Iruka was confused as well. Could it be the fox's power? No, it can't be. Even he knew that lightning wasn't his element. But still. He stated he'll talk with the Hokage about this later. For now, he wanted Naruto to close his eyes. Okay, Naruto. You can open your eyes. The Chunin said after a few moments. When the blonde opened his eyes, he noticed Iruka's forehead protector gone. He touched his forehead, and felt something cold and hard. Iruka's smile widened. Congratulations. You are now a genin of Konoha. Naruto gasped, smiling. He could feel his eyes watering. The blonde was so happy, he jumped at Iruka, giving him a big hug. They both were laughing. However, deep down in his mind, Iruka knew that Naruto's journey to the position of Hokage has only just began. Chapter End. Make Naruto and Anko were celebrating his graduation. Both were drinking some juice, laughing. Then Anko said, Now, Naruto-chan, in 2 days' time, you'll get to know your team as well as your sensei. Isn't that exciting? Well. The blonde wondered, I just hope I don't get someone like your sensei. He answered. Anko froze suddenly. She knew perfectly what he meant. To think it was 1 year ago. Flashback. Anko and her 2 assigned teammates were sitting in the classroom, waiting for their Jonin sensei. They all wondered what he would be like. Then, the door was knocked down, as a bulky-looking Jonin entered the room, apparently not caring if the door was there in the first place. The guy was dressed in a standard Jonin uniform, plus some spiky bracelets with a forehead protector tied on his left forearm. The guy also had black, 3-bladed claws strapped to his waist. But what caught the team's attention was how the guy looked. He was so ridiculously big and bulky. His skin was a bit darker than anybody else's, and under his feline-like eyes were even darker marks. The Jonin was bold, had lower jaw set forward, wide face, small, almost flat nose and no eyebrow. He had the most intimidating appearance Anko has ever seen in her life. The guy had some meat in his mouth, which he was still chewing, but didn't look like he cared if other people see it. This actually made his lazy-looking expression rather normal. In a few seconds he swallowed his snack, looked at the new promoted genins and put a smile on his face. "Hello there, little people," he said with a rather dark-sounding deep baritone. That's when everyone noticed the giant had sharp, feline teeth. "My name is Nekakage Kuramaru. But you people may call me Kuro-sensei. Here," he said, picking up a chalk, "let me spell that for you." He turns around to face the blackboard and began to write on it. There was a horrible screech. Anko and her assigned teammates felt horrible goosebumps as well as a terrible pain in their teeth. They managed to notice the glass in the room, maybe an entire academy, break a second after the noise started. Anko could barely keep her focus on the surroundings when she noticed one of her fellows trying to knock himself unconscious. Unfortunately, he either couldn't hit his head in the desk hard enough, or the screech was too annoying to be unconscious. Suddenly there was silence. The genins took a look at their Jonin-sensei and noticed he was looking at them. Then, Anko saw something that would actually scare her. The guy was smiling. He was enjoying himself doing that. So he continued. "Ah, the pain." Meanwhile in Konoha, the people started to cry. They could all hear that horrible screeching. The animals were acting like crazy, especially in the Inuzuka compound. Even in the torture and interrogation department, a certain Konohanin with 2 scars on his face, who was in the middle of interrogating some criminal, tried to cut the noise out by plucking his ears, while his prey cried, "He'll start talking, if only they make that screech stop." Elsewhere, in the Hyuga compound namely, all the Hyuga began to cry, while there be a Kugan active. This was worse a torture. Everyone in the village wished the screeching stop. Even the ANBU in the academy ran away to find a quiet spot. Finally. Silence. Anko opened her eyes and noticed their sense finished. He faced them smiling. "I'm going to be your sensei." "Yes, sir. From now on, you're all under my care on your way to becoming powerful shinobi." He looked at them and noticed they couldn't pull themselves together yet after his writing period. He showed them a grin. "Looks like you can't handle the pain yet. That's too bad. Guess I'll have to start writing some more." They all paled. Flashback end. Yeah, Anko started to shiver. "Wish you a better one than mine." She sweat dropped. Charter 2 morning. Hokage Tower. Naruto was sitting before the third, discussing further the details of Mizuki incident. The aged Hokage actually just wanted to know more about Naruto's abilities, namely the lightning jutsu Iruka mentioned in his report earlier. So far, it looked like Naruto was able to perform that jutsu unconsciously, when in stressful situation. When the village leader along with the blonde genin learned later on, that he could now perform the jutsu like any other, making to hand seals, namely ram and snake, in advance, they dubbed it stunning light whip. The Hokage wanted to talk some more to Naruto. About his photo, that is, where he was looking away. Apparently the fox container just wasn't trustful enough yet and didn't want to show up to people as bad as he presumed. Then the office door was opened and a small kid, about 8 years old boy, entered. "All right, old man. I challenge you for the position of Hokage." The child cried out and charged. However, he tripped over his too long scarf and fell, face first, to the ground. Well, that was lame. Both Lord Hokage and Naruto's sweat dropped. Then a strange guy with a bandana and sunglasses, wearing a standard Jonin uniform, minus the green vest, entered. "Excuse me, Lord Hokage. Have you seen?" He looked around and gasped as he found the 8-year, who was trying to get on his feet. "Oh, honorable grandson. Are you all right?" The child, however, ignored the man and pointed towards Naruto. You tripped me," the honorable grandson accused the blonde. That ended up with him getting some tick marks all over his body. He stood up, grabbed the 8-year by the shirt and lifted him. "You tripped over your own scarf, you idiot." Naruto scolded him, which made the Jonin interfere. "You unhand the honorable grandson, you foul one. How dare you touch the grandson of the third Hokage like that," he said. Naruto looked at him and back and the 8-year. The third's grandson was thinking this guy was going to let him go and apologize. Just like everyone else. Everyone was surprised however when the knucklehead blonde head-butted him and then threw him to the far corner of the room, apparently unaffected with the boy's weight. He threw him like an empty can. Again, everyone was shocked. No wait. That would be an understatement. Naruto was about to get out of the Hokage's office, when "I don't give a damn if you're his grandma, brat," he simply stated and disappeared behind the door. 15 minutes later. Konoha streets. Naruto was walking down the street thinking about what ramen to eat today at Ichiraku's, his favorite ramen stand. Should he order his favorite miso ramen or maybe pork? Or maybe he could one he didn't have for months. Or maybe. The blonde suddenly turned around. He noticed nothing special. No one was following him after all. Wait a second. Something's not right here. He notices a failed attempt to hide under a camouflage cloth. He pulled it away and found the third's grandson, who was both surprised and smiling at him. "Haha. You found me with no problem," he said. "Guess what people say about you is true. You really are a great ninja." Naruto just got more confused, and then the answer came. "I want you as my new sensei," the kid said proudly. Naruto was stunned. "Forget it." The fox container answered lazily, "I'm not that stupid." He started to walk away. But the 8-year, once he got over his shock, quickly started to follow him. Several hours have passed since the two meet. Surprisingly, Naruto came to like the little guy. He learned that Konohamaru, for that was the third grandson's name, was just like him, in a way. The child was always perceived only as the Hokage's grandson and he hated it. So Konohamaru wanted to show every villager of Konoha that he was someone more than just that. He wanted acknowledgement. Naruto understood him perfectly, but scolded him for his stupid attempts to assassinate the third to take his hat. He explained that the path to such great position was harder than believed and had no shortcuts. Oh, how right he was. For the position of the Hokage is not to be taken, but to be earned. Meanwhile, on top of the Hokage's tower, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, watched the Hokage monument with sad eyes. What was on his mind no one could tell, but clearly he was regretting something. Pipe in his mouth was letting out a slight smoke, while a bigger cloud of it was blown out of the wrinkled man's mouth. Soon, Irika, covered in bandages, arrived and bowed behind the village leader. "Irika. I fear for Naruto," he said with a sad tone. "With all respect, you worry too much, Lord Hokage. Naruto's stronger than he." Irika was cut off by his superior. "Irika. You know that Naruto's smile is just a fake to hide his pain." When the fox attacked, the fourth Hokage had no choice but to seal it inside the newborn's belly. It was the only way to stop the demon. Irika's expressions got serious. The fourth wanted for the villagers to see Naruto as a hero, who keeps them safe. That was his dying wish. However, humans' ignorance and pain blinds them. They were all ready to kill Naruto the first chance they got. Even the council was with them. That's why I set a law that forbids them from even mentioning about Naruto's status. I even set several trusted ANBU enforcers to watch over Naruto and interfere when necessary. The younger generation, which knows not of the Nine Tails, is the only hope for Naruto for a normal life. Hiruzen turned to Irika. "Do you know what they say about people who hate, Irika-kun?" The Chunin shook his head. They say that their eyes are the coldest there are. Elsewhere, Naruto and Konohamaru continued to talk. The sun was setting, making the sky gold. The birds were quieter, the bats began to fly, and crickets began their melody. The boys' talk was soon interrupted by the ninja who was following Konohamaru earlier. Ebisu was his name, and from what the young Sarutobi said, he was Jonin assigned to instruct him. Naruto managed to see eyes under these circular sunglasses of his. They were glaring cold. The blonde hated it. Why does everyone have to give him this kind of eyes? Ebisu jumped of a branch, from which he found the boys, and slowly walked over towards them. "Oh, honorable grandson," he started, "let's go back home and resume your training." "No!" Konohamaru cried, "I don't want to go with you. I want to stay with Naruto longer." "Humph! You have to be joking. Dealing with the likes of him will never do you any good. He's far below you," Ebisu said proudly. Naruto, however, wasn't very happy with that. How dared he say something like that? Now he was going to show him. He made a cross seal and yelled, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." There was a puff of smoke, which later revealed about 30 Narutos, including the original. Ebisu, however, just chuckled. He was no Mizuki. Numbers of the knucklehead was insignificant. However, he did not expect this. Transform. All the clones performed the sexy jutsu. Ebisu was shocked. Head hunk on ridiculously thin neck, jaw dropped, while the naked females run over to him and started to seduce him. The Jonin suddenly got a strong nosebleed, which sends him into the sky, only to end up with him landing just a few feet away from the harem. Naruto cancelled everything. "Yeah. I call this one harem jutsu," he confessed proudly. The knucklehead didn't know, but he was being watched by the Hokage via his crystal ball, through the entire encounter. The old man was somewhat happy that the boy still had some sense of pranks in him, but was also disappointed when he saw how the prankster won his fight. But he also admitted to himself that even he would be caught by this jutsu. The two boys went somewhere else, away from the Jonin. Konohamaru declared that he would now improve the harem jutsu and defeat his grandpa. Naruto, however, scolded him for his stupidity. He reminded him what he said earlier, that the position of a Hokage is not taken. It is earned. With that, he declared, "From now on we're rivals. If you want to become Hokage, you'll have to beat me." The 8-year was frustrated and accused the blonde of showing off. However, that was short-lived and the two began to see each other as close friends. Maybe brothers. The third couldn't help but smile when he saw this. Next day morning. The streams of light were striking Naruto's face, gently waking him up. It was as if the sun was always there to welcome him. The boy shrugged at first. But that didn't last long. He liked the way he would always get up. Especially since it was always in time before the alarm clock kicked in. He quickly reached for it and turned it off before it rang. He stretched out. Wait a minute. Something's out of place. Why did his sheets feel heavier than normal? He ran his hand down the sheets and felt something was underneath them. He quickly jumped out of the bed and pulled of the covers. He soon regretted that. On his bed was laying a sleeping form of Anko. Apparently her body still hasn't registered that Naruto was gone, as she continued to cuddle, making her purple, oversized shirt, which served as her nightwear, reveal some of her cleavage. Naruto's sweat dropped, blushed and sighed at the sight of that. Then he screamed so loud, the entire village shook. And the sound of fist hitting a head could be heard. Later. Ninja Academy. Naruto was sitting behind the desk in his usual spot. He was obviously still irritated with Anko's act this morning. But he rather wanted to avoid her for a time being. Anko wasn't someone who would let him scold her for her stunts. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as the last time. Before, when Enko sneaked into his bed, she was naked. Oh man. Enko indeed was one of the few not to hate him, but this was ridiculous. Why is she so forward? He knew she was more than meets the eye. Enko, as far as he could remember, was always cheerful, easygoing, hyperactive, loved pranks and even had something of a sadist. But the blonde knew that she was actually warm and hurt on the inside. Just like him. Maybe that explains her attitude. Unlike him, Enko didn't feel acknowledged at all. Even the fact of having an older cousin didn't help her. Whatever. He liked to think of her somewhat like a sister. She however always crossed the line with sneaking into his apartment and into his bed. Naruto was suddenly caught out of his thoughts by a kid with the laziest expression possible on human face. He had dark hair tied into a ponytail, had little, brown, weasel eyes and gloomy voice. "Hey, Naruto," the kid said. "What are you doing here? Only those who graduated are allowed here today." The blonde just grinned at him, showed his forehead protector tied around his neck, which actually looked good with his clothing. "You see that, Shikamaru? This is the proof that I'm a genin as well as you." He chuckled. The lazy-looking boy decided not to drag the conversation any further, as he found it to be too troublesome. However, at the far back end of the room, a dark-haired Hyuga, who were recognized by their white eyes, smiled as she saw the blonde. She was clearly happy for the Uzumaki kid to have passed. Few minutes later, someone rammed the door opened. There were two girls fighting over who gets to enter first. Naruto knew them all too well. The first one was Yamanaka Ino. She had long, bright blonde hair tied in a ponytail, bright blue, pupil-less eyes, thin body and wore a purple top along with a purple skirt. She also had some bandages wrapped around her legs and torso. Ino had her forehead protector tied around her waist. The other girl was Haruno Sakura. She had long pink hair, emerald eyes, big forehead and average body build. She wore a red dress, green/blue shorts and green ninja sandals. She wore her forehead protector like a robin. Naruto remembered how he used to have a crush on her during their academy days. However, he gave up on her when he landed in a hospital a year ago because of her. He didn't hate her, but neither did he like her. As far as he cared, she was just a brutal, loud banshee. The two girls have finally managed to enter the classroom and ran over to the desk and glared at Naruto. "Hey, Naruto!" Sakura started to yell, "Move aside, idiot. I want a seat next to Sasuke." Naruto didn't budge. Then Ino came in closer. "Say Naruto," she said in a calmer yet commanding tone, "move it, will you? I'd like to take a seat next to Sasuke." Naruto turned his eyes to them. Then away. He didn't feel like telling them anything. That pissed them off. How dare he ignore them? They both backed their hands to deliver a punch, but when they were about to hit him, Naruto just ducked. And so their punches hit Sasuke, the best student in the group. Uchiha Sasuke. The most popular guy in class. And the grumpiest of them all. He was always like this since 5 years ago, when his entire clan was wiped out. Sasuke wore a dark blue, high-collar t-shirt and white short. He had onyx black eyes, short, black hair, light tan skin. All the girls practically worshipped him. And now, two of the just hit him. What the hell? Ino and Sakura were just about to hit Naruto. How did it happen that they hit Sasuke instead? That can't be. Before anyone could do anything, Iruka entered the room. Sasuke, who pulled himself back together, just ignored him and glared at the blonde. How did he manage to dodge a punch at such short range? Iruka quickly however stopped the Uchiha's train of thoughts. "Good day, everyone," he said smiling. "Once again, I'd like to congratulate you on becoming genins. Now you're on your way of greatness." The possibility to fulfill your dreams is now an open doorway. He paused to look at everyone and saw determined faces everywhere. Especially Naruto. Iruka's smile got bigger and he continued. Don't take it the wrong way, but live of a shinobi is a rough one. I won't lie to you. Chances of your deaths are high. Those of you who are lucky might just lose a limb. But don't let that stop you from going onward. The fact you became shinobi is already proof that you will survive. You are strong. All of you. And you'll all just get stronger. After hearing that, everyone cheered. As soon as they all quieted down, with the help of Iruka's loud mouth jutsu, Iruka picked up a clipboard. Now, I'm going to tell you what teams you're all assigned to. I'll read the team number first and then who's assigned to it. Let's begin, shall we? Team 1. Iruka began. Naruto wasn't really paying attention now. He was wondering who he will have on his team. He didn't mind Sakura that much, though he didn't want to be with her. And certainly didn't want to be with Sasuke. He was hoping for Shikamaru. He may be lazy, but didn't mind the blonde. Before he could think who else could be fine with, he heard Iruka's voice. Team 7 will be Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura. The brunette didn't flinch, while the pink-haired girl cheered, and Uzumaki Naruto. Wham! That sound caught everyone's attention. They saw Naruto's head broke through the desk. Seems like underestimated his own strength and hit the furniture too hard. He quickly rose up and pointing to his new teammates he complained. Hey, Iruka-sensei. Is this some kind of a cruel punishment or a stupid joke? Why am I stuck with Mr. Arrogance and his number one fangirl? Iruka sighed and answered, sorry Naruto. But considering your lower marks, Lord Hokage has decided this team will be best suited. Naruto hit his head in the desk, again, and made another hole, again. It just couldn't get any worse. 20 minutes later. Outside the academy. Naruto was sitting on the bench. He was brooding something under his nose, while holding some strange marble and a blackboard eraser in his hands. He was most likely preparing a new prank. Just when he was about put them together, something draw his attention. It was Sakura. She walked over to him and didn't look like she was in for a friendly conversation. Idiot, have you seen Sasuke? She asked him. Naruto gave her an annoyed look. No, was all he said and returned to what he was doing earlier. Now you mind leaving me alone for now? I'm also in a bad mood today. Sakura, however, was mad. Naruto dared talk to her like that? By what right? Even though he was no longer crushing on her, he still annoyed her. She hit him in the head, hard, making him fall off the bench. She was about to kick him now, when she stopped and jumped away when she saw the boy catch the bench with one hand and swing it to hit her. Once she landed, she had to duck quickly as he threw it at her. Looked back at the bench that kept flying until it hit a tree about 16 yards away. She was shocked. Was Naruto always this strong? She looked back at him and saw that he was somewhat freaked out by his own doing. He started to run away from her. He was crying. Sakura wondered for a second what was that all about, but dropped it off as soon as she saw Sasuke nearby. Oh Sasuke. I finally found you. Do you want to eat lunch with me? She asked him in a happy tone. He looked around and saw a broke bench by the tree further away. Who did this? He asked her in a cool tone, pointing to the subject of his curiosity. Oh, that? That's Naruto's doing. Sakura answered him coldly, obviously trash talking about his blonde teammate. But why bother about that idiot? It's not like we need to take the blame for his stupidity. You know, if parents knew I was doing things like he does, I would be in big trouble. That's why he's so annoying. She continued. Sasuke, however, wasn't taking this well. He's lonely, he said. What? You don't know what it's like to be alone. He's acting the way he acts, because he's alone. Unlike me, he never had parents, so he envies others. He hates being alone. He turned to the pink-haired girl to give her a cold glare. So don't you dare talk like you knew better. Sasuke? Why are you saying that? He started to walk away. Because you're annoying. 2 hours later. Inside the academy. The room was empty, except for the assigned Team 7. Sasuke was just minding his business. Naruto was setting the eraser on the top of the door and Sakura was watching him. Naruto? What are you doing? She asked. Oh, just a little punishment for our sensei for being late. That's all, he answered her. Idiot. You really think anyone will be stupid enough to fall for this? Sasuke cut in. He didn't believe Naruto's prank will succeed. Soon enough. The doors have been opened and the eraser fell on someone. Once it bounced off him, the eraser exploded and the man entering the room was covered in ink. Naruto chuckled lightly. Sakura was shocked at what happened and tried to apologize for the stupid prank, although deep in her mind, she was laughing hard. The victim of the prank quickly cleaned himself and everyone could now take a closer look at him. A Jonin, about 25 to 28 years old. He was wearing traditional Jonin uniform, had his forehead protector covering his left eye and a mask covering bottom half of his face. The Jonin had silver hair, which did not give in to gravity and his visible right eye was half open. The guy looked at them and said, "My first impression of you. I hate you guys." The Genins were shocked. "Meet me at the roof in 5 minutes," he said and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. That was a body flicker technique, shunshin if preferred. 5 minutes later, all four were on the roof. The silver-haired Jonin was sitting on a railing, while the Genin sat on what looked like stairs. "Okay then," he started, "fancy seeing you three made it. So how about we start from introducing ourselves to know each other?" Sensei? What exactly would you want us to say?" Naruto asked curiously. "Oh, you know, the usual. Your names, likes and dislikes, hobbies, dreams, something like that." The Jonin answered while scratching his chin. "Well then, why don't you start for an example, sir? We don't even know you." Sakura said. Fair enough. My name is Hatake Kakashi. There are many things that I like and many things I dislike, so I won't bother telling you. As for my dreams, never really bothered thinking about that part. My hobby is very interesting." He gave them, what it looked like, judging by his closed eye, a smile. The rookies however were annoyed. "Great. So we learned his name that's all. What an example." The pink-hair girl thought. "Okay then. Now that you know what I expect to hear. Why don't you start, Blondie?" Kakashi asked, pointing to Naruto. "Okay." Naruto said with some hint of enthusiasm, "My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen, training myself like there's no tomorrow. I dislike the 3 minutes it takes to prepare ramen, when I have to cut my training short and when people judge others without even getting to know them. My hobbies, formerly pranks, and at the present, training, watching thunder clouds when on sky, training hard. And my dreams for the future is to one day become the greatest shinobi to ever exist, both in the past as well as in the future. Maybe even Hokage. So that people will stop disrespecting me and see me for somebody who's worth attention and respect." Kakashi's eye almost popped out. He was surprised by the boy's maturity. He already dreamed for something so great and did not want to turn back from it. He certainly had an interesting way of growing up, he thought. Then he pointed to Sakura, letting her know to start. My name is Haruno Sakura. I like." She started to blush, turning her eyes toward Sasuke and back every second. A person I like is. Giggles. My hobbies are, and my dream. She smiled like a pervert. Then she got angry and stated, I hate Naruto. Naruto felt. What was her problem? He did give up on her a whole year ago, so why was she still so hostile? Kakashi sighed. Guess girls are moody at this age. He thought to himself. Let pointed to Sasuke to introduce himself. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. There are not many things that I like and there are a lot of things that I hate. I have no hobby. And what I have I wouldn't call a dream, but rather an ambition. I intend to kill a certain man, and restore my clan. The air got cold. The three people around the Uchiha had different thoughts. Sasuke is so cool. Hope he's not after me. So it is as I thought. Great. So this year I get revenge-obsessed emo, a fangirl banshee and a kid that sounds like afraid of everyone around him. This'll be fun. Kakashi got off the railing and stood up, letting the three rookies know to remain sit. Okay. That sure was interesting. He started. Now I have some news for you. You're still not Genin yet. He was smiling when he announced that. All three were shocked. Tomorrow you'll have a real test. Wait just a damn minute. Sakura panicked, we just already have taken and passed the test. Oh, you mean that academy stuff? That was just to know who's good for ninja already and who the weakling is. Tomorrow, meet me at the training ground 7 at 0600 hours. Oh, and don't eat breakfast, or you'll puke. With the last sentence, the one-eyed Jonin disappeared via Shunshin. The next day. Dawn. Training ground 7. Naruto has woken up. He was all nervous if he didn't pass this test, he would commence seppuku, suicide. He can't fail this one. He was sitting on the bed and thinking about what to expect. He sat there for 5 minutes. About 40 minutes later he arrived to the meeting spot. The blonde wore today orange pants, red, sleeveless shirt, the usual armband, forehead protector around his neck and his orange jacket wrapped around his waist. His shuriken pouch strapped to his waist and the kunai holder to his right leg. Naruto found that he was the first to arrive. So he jumped up the tree nearby and fell asleep. Chapter end. Chapter 3 Team Test. Sasuke and Sakura were on their way to the training ground their sensei told them to. On their way there, Sakura kept trying to get him on a date, but the response was always the same, failure. He was getting annoyed with her. The Uchiha actually believed her to get in his way in everything. Finally the two arrived at training ground 7. And not only were they just a minute earlier, they were first to arrive. Or so they thought. The two suddenly heard some snoring. Someone was sleeping nearby. Who? Who would be willing to sleep here? They were looking around, but couldn't find the source of the snoring. A minute has passed. Still nothing. Finally they found the noisemaker. It was Naruto. He was sleeping in a tree. How could he be sleeping at the time like that? Naruto, you idiot. Wake up. Sakura yelled at him. The blonde, in the shock of surprise, lost his balance and footing, and fell off the tree to the ground, head first. He wasn't moving. Sakura got scared. Did she kill him? What if she and Sasuke will be removed from the shinobi program because of the incident? She shook him a bit. Nothing. This was bad. She leaned down to check his pulse. His eyes opened. Sakura jumped back away, freaked out. Eek! A zombie, she cried. Naruto whined in pain, caught his head and, painfully, sit. He opened one of his eyes and looked at the pink-haired banshee. What in damnation? I'm alive. He yelled out and then added quietly, yet. After a few seconds he got on his feet and yelled at Sakura. "What the freakin' hell is wrong with ya, Pinky? You tryin' to kill me? A simple way to wake someone up is that hard? Hey!" Sakura yelled back at him, "Don't you dare talk to me like that, idiot. And how can you be sleeping while Kakashi-sensei might be here anytime soon?" "So it's that time already?" the blonde asked simply. 2 hours have passed. The two were still waiting. Was their sensei thinking so little of them? Were they really not worth his attention? Or maybe the test has already begun and they failed to notice. No, that can't be. Where is that guy? Sakura yelled out loud. Finally, they noticed someone approach them. It was their sensei. "You're late." Both Naruto and the pink-haired Kunoichi yelled at him, though Naruto didn't jump out at him, which didn't go unnoticed by the one-eyed Jonin. He however wasn't affected by the accusation at all, as if he was ignoring them. Still the same, lazy, unconcerned expression on that masked expression. "Sorry I'm late. But when I woke up this morning, I found my apartment has been stolen, so I had to go find and retrieve it," he excused himself in a calmly tone. "However." "Liar!" Sakura screeched, while Naruto was glaring at him and Sasuke was ignoring everything. Kakashi just sighed and showed them to follow him. A few minutes later they reached small field next to a small river. In a center of it, there were 3 wooden poles standing in some strange crystal-like monument just a few feet away. Kakashi turned to face them. "Okay then," he started, "it's time we began our test. And just to get you more motivated, this test has about 66% failure possibility." The 3 were shocked to hear that, while their sensei just smiled. What kind of motivation was that? Then the Jonin took out 2 bells on a string and an alarm clock. "Your test is to take these bells from me. Those of you who get the bells will graduate." "But, Kakashi-sensei, there are only 2 bells and the 3 of us," Sakura pointed out. "Good observation. That way I can tie one person, namely the failure, to one of the posts and..." Kakashi reached out his free hand and in the puff of smoke there were 2 bento boxes. "Make that person watch as I eat my lunch." Just then, the Kunoichi's stomach growled. A second later there was another growl. This time it was Sasuke. Only the blondes didn't growl, but everyone overlooked it, stating he wasn't that hungry just yet. "So that's why he told us not to at breakfast." What a sly fox, the Uchiha thought. "You have time until noon, which makes it 3 hours. The Jonin told them, as he placed the alarm clock on a flat stone nearby. "And I suggest you to come at me with the intent to kill if you want to have any chance of succeeding." "But sensei, we don't want to hurt you," Sakura said in a worried tone. "Oh, don't worry about Lil ol me. I'll be fine." He took his stance. "Begin." Everyone disappeared. Kakashi looked around. He could see where they were hiding. Sasuke was hiding in the nearby trees to the south. Sakura hid in the bushes to the east. Good. They're taking this quite. His train of thought was stopped when he noticed the last of the 3 genins. His eye popped out. Naruto was sitting on the ground just a few feet away from Kakashi. His legs crossed. Arms too. Eyes closed. Like he was thinking and not worrying about the fact that his sensei was before him. Was he even concerned about this test? Or maybe he already quit? No, there had to be something. Naruto? You do realize the test has already begun, don't you?" Kakashi asked the blonde with calm and warm voice. He heard from Iruka and Third that Naruto was usually hyperactive, loud, obnoxious, ramen-obsessed, trouble-making knucklehead. But the kid in front of him was different. Calm. Quiet. Unconcerned. Almost isolated. Naruto just looked at the Jonin. "Yeah, I know. he said quietly. Well then, what's wrong? Are you quitting already? It's not that, he looked down and continued. But I don't know why to even bother. Kakashi opened his eye as wide as possible. Was Naruto lost? Or maybe he figured something out about this test. Come on Naruto. You can at least try. Don't worry. Naruto faced his sensei again. Then mind explaining something about this test? Kakashi's eye widened again. I have a feeling something's not right about this test. From what I heard, all teams are 4-man formations. And here you say you'll fail one of us and have a 3-man team. Something's not right about that. Kakashi looked stupefied. The kid couldn't tell it and yet he knew the Jonin was up to something. What perception? Sensei I smiled at the blonde. He was beginning to like him. Tell you what, Naruto. Kakashi started, getting the blonde's attention. I'll tell you everything and even teach you a new jutsu if you can get at least one of the bells from me. Deal? The Jonin saw some life returning to the kid's eyes. Soon he stood up to his feet and took his stance. Yeah, okay. He said. It wasn't much of an enthusiasm, but there was some tone of happiness in his voice. Naruto lunged at Kakashi with full force. He was delivering punches and kicks trying to hit him. The Jonin was dodging them however, but he had to admit he was impressed. Naruto's speeds, his agility, were beyond what anyone should be able to do even after years of extreme training regime. It was inhuman. He couldn't take this one so lightly. Even if he was not much of a danger though, Kakashi had to take him with a bit of seriousness. Sakura and Sasuke, who were still hidden in their spots, were amazed watching the blonde's fight. They could barely follow his movement at all even when they focused hard on his limbs. Sasuke just HNN'd under his nose, stating that Naruto had just speed, but no accuracy or strength. Sakura on the other was surprised. She even, for a second, thought that he was quite cool. After a minute of fighting, Kakashi disappeared, from what anyone would say. But Naruto saw most of the part. From his point of view, Kakashi moved in the blur to the left. He was so fast, that the blonde could follow that blur only for a second. It was too fast. Even so he could tell that his sensei could still go faster if he wanted. Naruto turned around and in the corner of his eye he found him. Kakashi crouched behind the blonde. His hands together with only his middle and index fingers straight for a tiger seal. Get out of there, Naruto. He's going to destroy you, shouted mentally Sasuke. He thought that the Jonin is going to use a fire jutsu. Well, that was a good spar. Kakashi said and continued, aiming his fingers for Naruto, but I have to get to the others. So here's the last thing before we depart. Konoha Ultimate Taijutsu, Hidden Art, 1000 Years of Pain. Kakashi then inserted his fingers into Naruto's anus. The blonde grimaced for a second and then was sent into the air crying like a madman. That was a low blow. He was about to land head first a few feet away from his sensei. But before he made contact with the ground, puff. That was a shadow clone. Kakashi was actually surprised. The real Naruto was hiding in the river. He was watching the entire fight from the beginning. Now, since he knew the difference between him and his sensei, he knew he had to come up with a plan. Kakashi jumped into the trees. Naruto was about to go into the woods as well. Then he saw the Jonin lost both bells. He got out of the water and walked over to them. He stopped. Naruto looked at the bells before reached for them to know how Kakashi lost them. He saw the string was apparently weak and broke. He looked around for any sign of his sensei. He found no one. The blonde finally decided to take the bells, and then the trap was triggered. Naruto was hanging upside down about 2 feet above ground. What the hell? When did this? That's when Kakashi appeared in front of him. I smiling like crazy.